with EZtrack today.
Hi.
Stefan, head of sales.
Correct.
And Antonio, sales representative in Spain and Latin America.
Correct.
That's correct. Very welcome to be here. Very glad to have you here. And we're going to be talking about your very, very cool suite of camera tracking solutions. So let's basically tell us what is EZtrack in a nutshell.
So basically, EZtrack is a camera tracking system for virtual production. So it is also a lens tracking system. It provides compatibility with different tracking standards. So that's the main difference compared to other tracking solutions on the market, is that you can combine EZtrack with other tracking methodologies. So we have markerless based systems to marker-based systems with active infrared markers. We can also work with motion capture systems like ISE or Vicon, and we can also track PTZ cameras that output 3D protocol. Yeah.
That's excellent, and that's in fact, I think that's one of a very nice set of features that really differentiates you from the rest. The fact that you've actually made it compatible. Instead of, this is a very new world where everybody's trying to keep their product safe and unique, and you've become unique by actually sharing that and partnering up, and that's it's really very common sense in a way, right? I think we run into I think probably what brought you to this conclusion is that, you need different solutions. Unless you have a broadcast setup maybe that is fixed and only covers the same situation on a daily basis when talking about, because one thing that I love about EZtrack is that it's really ready to rock any situation from fiction, production, film, series, commercial, and obviously broadcast or live events. But when you go into the fiction and commercial side of things, you really run into so many different situations that require different tracking solutions.
Definitely.
And that makes your approach very unique and very, very powerful. It makes it very versatile. Let's talk a little bit about the actual nature of your main lighthouse system. Because you did something that was very. It now seems very obvious. Because everybody who was trying to get into virtual production, homemade, low budget, low key, was looking into the Vive tracker and hardware. But you took that to the next level, right?
Of course, that's correct. In fact, we came from virtual production and working to it since the past 10 years. We did start with on-set travis for cinema, basically with the first technology that is called solid track, that is not existing anymore. So it has been replaced by EZtrack over the past 3 years. Basically, solid track was a depth camera, Z camera for it. You can, scan your environment and you have to localize your camera. We were very lucky to sell one system to James Cameron for the first avatar. Oh yeah,
that's right.
And that's where we come from. So previous on set, and then we figure out, okay, there is interesting, trackers and tracking tech for VR, especially for Vive. Okay. And then we think, okay, with our expertise in virtual production, with new techs, new engine for tracking, new tech for tracking, sensor and so on. Let's start to revamp our system into something more affordable, more easy to operate. Hence the name of EZtrack, because we want definitely to democratize the camera tracking for virtual production, not only for big studio, big stage, and broadcast operators. They have plenty of tech and so on. But in fact, when we launched EZtrack, the purpose and main purpose was to address and to help the small studios, small teams And
that's-
you're coming from
Yes,
smart things,
yes,
so
that's
you know
definitely
that
something
that's,
I can
you know,
relate to.
yeah.
I'm very happy to have you guys here because we are the main EZtrack. EZtrack is our main tracking tool for the past 3 years, and I think you've touched on two areas that beyond the actual technical features that make it so reliable and versatile, you touch on two areas that are very key to an emerging new model of production. The fact that it's you're democratizing virtual production, both in operability. You know, you now can operate. You know, you can have a newcomer who's learning this new set of skills actually operate their own tracking in their own studio. You can teach them how to calibrate their own lenses, and you've also brought down the price so that people, smaller range studios can actually afford this and help the virtual production industry really get to the next level.
Exactly.
And not be such an elite or exclusive model of production, which would really make it die eventually, if only the big. So this is very, very cool. And in this regard, we're in Barcelona now. What is a little bit your view of virtual production in general, and what is your experience or your view of virtual production in the Barcelona area now that you're here?
I think like in most of Europe at the moment, we see many virtual production studios being created, many production houses integrating these new technologies. We are at ISE 2023, where we see a lot of LED panels that are now being integrated for in-camera VFX, for example. You also mentioned the use of Unreal Engine, which has been a revolutionary tool for virtual production, and that has changed all the workflows for most of studios. So I think that's a very good point and technology for virtual production studios right now, and it has a lot of potential. And we hope that Barcelona comes as a big reference for virtual production in Europe soon. Yeah.
Yes, thank you. I think we can agree on that. I think we're really betting for this new model here, and we're not kidding around. I think we're very sure that this has come to stay. So we hope this is a first visit of many more to come.
Definitely.
In that sense. And talking about EZtrack itself, let's talk a little bit about how you started with the HTC hardware and where you're actually taking that now, because we have a V2 EZtrack coming just kind of fresh out of the oven, right?
It's fresh from past summer, from last August.
So this is something that I'd like to actually not understate at all. You know, from our experience working with you guys, obviously you're technically skilled, and I think that something that's very makes you stand out is your rapport, your relationship with your client. You listen to your client's needs, and you always keep innovating, aware of where the necessities are, and I think that's kind of what's made you come up with the V2, with the Swan tracker, with easy profile. That
Exactly.
Let's talk about that evolution.
Yeah, definitely. That's a very interesting point. In fact, we are very lucky to have amazing guys at our lab for R&D development. They're working since many years on the previous version of EZtrack.
Let's put a name on them. Let's put a name on them. Who are your magicians in the lab?
Names
There's
of
Timothy,
right?
Timothy, our CTO, and there is Guillaume, that you know as well. Yeah. And they're very amazing brains, I would say, in these technologies. They know pretty much, the vision, computing vision. They're expert of computer vision, and basically, yes, they have seen that you can. Okay, the HTC Vive is a tech for large tech for public from VR, and then because there is very good capabilities of the tracker of the Vive to track the camera. So then we added every technology, enhancements, optimization, and so on, put into the hub. We added our expertise in lens calibration, and then we merge and combine the capabilities of the Vive and the base station with what is a hub, in fact. So,
that's really cool.
And that's how it starts. And we did replicate the same with other manufacturers and innovators, such as anti-latency.
Right.
Is a very good example, because it's coming from the VR, and then adapt that tech and the tracking config to the virtual production. And then we talk with them and say, okay, you have amazing tech for tracking with very small alt tracker and so on. And we have very interesting features for studios. Thanks to the hub, let's collaborate together, and then we combine and make the two systems operate together. So it was how we work with technology provider and so on. So we right now and for the future still gathering new tech, new sensors, even coming from the industry, and see what can provide to the studios. If it does provide more accuracy, more stability, more bandwidth and coverage for the tracking areas, and we will make sure and we'll do all best efforts to integrate this sensor, this tech of tracking into the hub and make it compatible with the EZtrack hub.
This is really cool. This is really cool.
Yeah.
I think it's important to basically underline the fact that, because I remember when we first decided for EZtrack, we had we're like, they're using Vive. We had actually tried to do a little bit of what you did, but it's very important for people to understand they're not getting a Vive kit. And what makes you very different is that you have a tracking background, much more prior to that. So you put all your knowledge in and just got that hardware and turned it into something very different.
A complete workaround.
You're not just getting a Vive kit and you're getting a tracking system.
The question is often asked by some leads and clients, asking, okay, but you're just taking a Vive tracker and putting and connecting to a hub. No, it's way more than that, because we added specific stuff inside the hub with data filtering, and some very fancy stuff that I can't disclose more for right now. But yes, we just take the Vive, but we put so much stuff, code, and optimization. It's why
it actually carries your own firmware.
Exactly.
And that's I think that kind of says it all without having to say more.
Yep.
You're not just getting a Vive kit here.
Exactly.
And actually, I think Vive themselves are trying to jump into the camera tracking. And I mean, I don't know what they'll accomplish or not, but I think they're kind of far from what because why? They don't have your tracking background.
Yeah. Exactly.
And they certainly won't have your customer support. That's something that I think is very
That's important. In fact.
Yes.
And regarding the Vive, maybe we can talk about the Swan tracker, because we innovate this year. And we release our first own tracker that's completely homemade. Yeah. Antonio, if you maybe want to talk.
Yeah. So the story behind the Swan is that. As we just said, we took an existing technology from virtual reality and we transformed it into a full-on professional camera tracking system. But we wanted to go a step further, and we sat down. Our R&D team just pulled his sleeves back and said, okay, what we can do here to improve the system. And so we started working with some very talented people in the industry, mainly Tundra Labs, which also has a virtual reality background. And we designed a new tracker, specially designed for camera tracking, which we call the Swan tracker, which is a really cool name, but also has cool features.
Cool shape too.
Yes. Yeah. So it has a custom shape design to have a little bit more signal stability than any other Lighthouse compatible trackings. It's a bigger tracker, so it receives better the infrared emitted by the base stations. And then it also has a LEMO input connector to have a more reliable connection than just standard USB connection. Yeah.
This is now you can really say you're not getting just a Vive kit.
No.
Now it's
Not
even
anymore.
more.
Yeah,
Now it's physically,
exactly.
visibly
Yeah.
a different hardware of your own creation.
Exactly.
It's great to
Yeah.
see that you're
It's
you're
a
always pushing the
step
boundary.
up.
You're always
Exactly.
polishing and
Yes,
improving.
we start with the Vive, and now we did expand to many techs, including the amazing techs from EZtrack, Vicon, coming from the mockup. We are very in good partnership with them as well for big stage and big setups. So we did start with small stage, small studios, and now we do expand to the big XR and LED setups, and we are very proud of this.
Yes,
basically.
yes, you should. You should, and it's going to be very key, I think, to the expansion of virtual production, because eventually we're going to be building larger stages, to be able to really cover, more production situations,
Correct.
larger productions,
For sure.
and you need to have this vision. Otherwise, you get stuck.
Yep.
You get stuck, and you did the smart thing: start small and then grow. And that's great. Let's talk about. We talked about the new hub. We talked about
Maybe
the
for the
Swan.
new one, we didn't talk about what's the new key
That's
features.
that's
Maybe
correct. Go
I
ahead.
think it should
What
be
makes the new hub
interesting.
particular?
In particular, beyond the size format that is smaller than the first version. So the current hub being sold by our team is called the Gen 2 of EZtrack Hub Gen 2. So smaller size, fancy blue color, basically, and cool stuff. But no, the real deal is that we did add a time code entry for post-production, and the opportunity and the feature to record directly into the EZtrack interface the tracking data and export them into FBX file formats. So then you can directly work on them.
This is cool.
Exactly.
You don't
into
rely
Nuke,
anymore on
DaVinci and so on. So that straightforward process, and we are gearing toward to accelerate more and more into the cinema, post-production, and these specific features are meant to be dedicated
To that.
to the cinema, to that, exactly.
That's
I think,
that's
yeah.
awesome. That's
Yeah.
awesome.
We've had the chance to work on some very cool cinema projects as of recently, mainly Pinocchio and Comandante. For Comandante, it's a film in Italy where our CTO went, I think, more than a month to work
Wow.
there for the real-time lens data for virtual production and post-production. And so I think we had a great learning process during those two projects to really understand what are the current needs for the cinema industry in how to incorporate this new technology and use it effectively in post-production, for example.
This is actually another nice key point, that you actually provide on-set services
Yes,
still.
Yeah.
correct.
Yeah.
And this is not only good in the sense that you provide the service, but this from what you just told us, this keeps you in very close contact with the actual needs of the industry and the clients, and that's what makes you improve your project, your product, right?
Sure.
And that's why we have a V2 hub
Exactly.
with all these nice features
Exactly.
and the Swan.
In fact, our team, most of our team do pass many times outside the office
Right,
to go on
I
set
know.
and to help people.
We know that.
With,
We know that.
with tracking, setup, with calibration, and so there's a lot of traveling every month. And it's interesting because it's important for us to gather the feedback from our clients, and we do learn feedback from our clients.
Of course.
And it's the reason why we have this version 2 being quite a real evolution compared with the version 1. Sometimes from a project from a V1 to a V2, there's no many differences, sometimes on the price or something, but in this case, we really gather from the studios themselves what they want, what they need. Okay, and if I'm doing post-production, I would like to record directly the FBX tracking data.
Yeah.
Okay, let's try to do this, and
you're covering what needs to be
Exactly,
done, and you're
exactly.
making sure you update to something that is actually useful, and that,
Exactly.
that's certainly something that we relate to here in Mediapro. We're obviously very well known for our broadcast services,
Of course,
but
indeed.
we also have a very intense film and fiction department, and that involves VFX. And such features are going to be very, very, very handy in all these productions right now. I won't say it's a nightmare, but we have to go through Unreal to record the tracking and export it. And the fact that you're accelerating and optimizing these processes is what we cherish.
Sure.
Right?
Except for lens calibration. Maybe I don't know if you want to talk
yes,
about this.
that's what I wanted to make sure we didn't leave behind, because this can actually make pre-production happen or not happen in the necessary timing that is set for productions. Let's talk about EZ Profile.
Yes.
Please.
Sure.
Because you already had a nice system for calibrating lenses that you could actually teach to your clients, which was very nice.
Correct.
But it was still, kind of, probably more. Well, now that we have EZ Profile, it seems long and tedious. It didn't seem that bad, but now it's like, wow, what a leap, right? Let's talk. Please tell us about EZ Profile.
Sure.
I think when we try to explain what lens calibration is to some clients, is to say that we try to get the ID card of your lens, meaning that we want to replicate the physical characteristics of a lens in your virtual camera. So to do that, there are many different type of methodologies. So we wanted to come up with a universal solution. Universal meaning that you can export your lens file to your preferred pipeline. It can be Unreal Engine, Axymetry, Zero Density, Pixotop, and all the other great render engines that are out there. So EZ Profile is based basically on 4 steps. It's based on captured image processing. So you would have to print some calibration tag boards, and then the software will guide you through some zoom and focus points that will allow you to take some pictures, and then the software will do an interpolation between those points, and we will have a nice lens curve at the end that you can refine if there are some tweaks to make to perfectionize the lens curve, and then you can export your lens profile. To give you an idea about the time frame, so for cinema lenses, just focus range, we're in about 30 minutes. You can
30
calibrate.
minutes.
Yes, correct.
That's like.
And
That's
broadcast
hard to
lenses.
believe. If I hadn't seen it myself, I'd be like, are you tricking me? 30 minutes.
Yeah.
That's
For broadcast lenses, so more complex lenses, more zoom and focus points, you are in about 1 hour and a half, 2 hours to calibrate a full broadcast
That's also
lens.
hard to believe, but
The full day to make one calibration is
it's
over.
gone to from one full day to a couple hours. That's a milestone, guys. Yes, I'm glad we went through the whole spectrum of the hardware and this new piece of software. We should mention that we're actually running EZtrack as we speak in this interview. We have a very nice Steadicam moving around us in this virtual production environment with your Swan tracker, with your V2, and with only 3 base stations that cover the area. And it's working wonderfully, as you can see. And I'd like to just take this chance to thank you for coming, for powering this ISE station with your technology and your knowledge. And as I said, I hope this is the first one of many more.
Yeah.
Thank you guys for having us.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Very much
Pleasure.
for your host.
Cheers.
Cheers.